guys, I just wanted to put up a quick vid. I've been kind of encouraged a YouTuber called OasisRising to get involved in a terrain building competition that her local hobby shop is having. And if you guys haven't seen her channel, please go check it out, because she's done some mini painting and it's just like absolutely drool inducing. So you need to go check her channel out. I'll put a link down there, but go by and check it out. It's absolutely amazing what she's doing. So I encouraged her to do this, and she had a question for me about foam, so I thought I'd put up a quick video to answer that, and to kind of go over some other basic terrain tools and techniques, just to kind of get her started, and hopefully that'll help other people who are thinking about getting into terrain kind of get started with some basic things. So let's take a look. Okay, so the question she had was about foam. She was asking if she could use this kind of packing foam. Yes, you can. However, this stuff, if you can see here, we'll see if we can get a little better view, uses styrofoam balls and they expand it. So it's called expanded polystyrene. And what happens is, it's a big mess when you cut it, because these little balls separate and make a mess. B, it's really hard to get a smooth finish on this. So you can use it for substructures and stuff, but I wouldn't use it on facing structures, because even painting it, you get a really bad texture out of it. Unless you're working on something where you want this kind of texture. It's extremely rare that I use this stuff though. What you really want to be using for terrain is stuff like this. This is extruded polystyrene. It's much more dense. There's pink stuff and there's blue stuff here in the States. Depending on where you live, you get different thicknesses of it. Down here in Florida, I can only get 3/4 inch. Actually, Carlo at Let's Cut Foam had to send me some of this 2-inch stuff. Thankfully, he was nice enough to do that. But this is a much better foam to use for terrain. You can get this at big box stores in 4-foot by 8-foot sheets for usually less than $20, and a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet lasts forever. So I would highly recommend using that. Some other things that you may want to know about terrain when you're starting out: you need to have quite a few knives like these. I buy mine at the dollar store. These are really cheap plastic. They break easy, but you know, they work as long as they work, and they're so cheap I don't care if they only last a month or two. The one thing you want to be very, very sure of is that these are always very, very sharp when you're cutting foam. Otherwise you'll end up tearing the foam instead of cutting it, and it'll just be a big nasty mess. Now the good thing about these is they actually have breakable blades, which, kids, if you're going to use these, make sure your parents are around and let them break the blades, because it's very dangerous. You have to be very careful when you do that. Make sure you're wearing eye protection and taking all other necessary safety precautions when you use these. But just make sure they're sharp, and these are really handy tools because you can get a long blade out and use it to cut longer lines in the foam. Alright, some other basic terrain making necessities. You probably want to get some of this foam core board. This is that stuff that's foam on the inside and paper on both sides. This is used, I use this a lot for making the base structures, and then I put the stuff over it, but this is great for the underlayment for structures. Again, really inexpensive, and a sheet of this lasts a really long time, so this is something you want to pick up. Brushes. For the love of Pete, do not use your Winsor & Newton Series 7 brushes on terrain. It's not necessary, and you're just going to ruin your expensive brushes. Go get a pack of assorted brushes, just cheap stuff you can find them at the dollar store, you can find them at Michael's, you can find them all over the place. cheap assorted brushes, because you're gonna ruin them really fast. So don't use your expensive brushes on that. And you want a lot of sizes too, because a lot of terrain you're going to be using bigger stuff to get. I mean, you'll want bigger brushes to get over bigger terrain. You don't want to be using tiny little brushes when you're trying to cover a 2-foot piece of terrain. Paints. Do not use your $3 a bottle mini paints on terrain. Use craft paints. That's all you need. It's way less expensive. Now, I will typically buy like white, black, and gray in these big bottles because I use them a lot. And then I've got a bunch of these other little bottles for other colors. And let's see if you can see. So there's all the paints I've got for terrain. Again, this stuff lasts a really long time, and it's way cheaper than, you know, using your Vallejo or GW paints on this stuff. You don't want to do that unless you're doing fine detail freehand work on a little part of the terrain. Then you may want to, but other than that, it's just, there's no reason to do that. Alright, so another thing, speaking of paints, you'll want, now I use this for my mini painting. This works great for mini painting because I'm usually only putting a drop of paint on here at a time, and that's fantastic. However, with terrain paints, you're going to be using a lot more paint, so you really want to have something with wells in it, so you can mix up large amounts of paint. So I'd recommend picking up something like this. They're really cheap. I think these here, they're like 90 cents for one of these. So pick up a few of them. You'll really use those. Another good thing to have is a little bit of spackling. This is the green stuff of terrain making. Not for sculpting, but for gap filling and stuff. I actually like this stuff, this Drydex, because when you put it on it's pink, and then when it dries it's white, and so you know it's dry, so you don't accidentally paint wet spackle. That turns into a huge mess, I found out. So this is a really good thing to have. Now for flocking, that's one of the few things that I will actually buy from modeling companies, like Scenic Express is who I get most of my flock through. However, I will use some common things for flocking. Parsley flakes, really good for like leaf scatter or putting leaves on trees. I've got some videos where I use this for some vines and other things. It's really cheap. I mean, this whole bottle costs like less than $1, I think. One of my other favorite flocks is dried tea. After we brew some tea, I'll stick the tea bags out in the sun to dry, and make sure they're really dry. A few days, either out in the sun or in the garage. Then I just open them up and dump them in here, and this works really good for like forest floor, dirt, swampy areas. This is great stuff, and it costs, I mean, you're drinking the tea anyway, so essentially this is a free byproduct of that, so that's good. But oh, and one other thing that's good to have, and I just did a video on using this, is this pea gravel. This is really inexpensive, and it'll last a long time, and it's very well scaled for 28 millimeter. So this is great stuff to have as well. So anyway, I hope that's helpful to OasisRising and possibly to some other people as well who are just starting to get into this. If you have any questions, feel free to PM me or drop me a comment on this video. And OasisRising, the only thing I really ask from you is that you give us some videos on your terrain so we can see how things progress for you. I'd love to see it. Anyway, that's about it for this, so we will see you next time. Bye!